List.io.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And today we're going to be talking about titling up. Are titles important in a relationship?
We're going to talk about it.
Oh, we were talking off camera about this subject because so often we meet someone, we're like, oh my God, they're so wonderful. They check a bunch of the boxes that we have in our heads, right? And then we don't want to ruffle any feathers. It's like...
Right.
We get stuck in the go with the flow, and we never ask or expect or insinuate or draw the lines of wanting a title.
Right. And I think for modern day, a lot of the time when you talk to certain people, they're like, that's so old school. Like, no one asks for titles. But how do you go from boyfriend, girlfriend, engagement to wedding? And I don't know if that has a lot to do with the fact that, you know, maybe a lot of people are waiting to get married because it's like, well, they kind of skip the part of the title. I know sometimes, you know, people want to be, you know, to solidify the relationship, I should say, and they want that title just to make sure that, okay, I'm only with you exclusively, you're only with me exclusively. And at the end of the day, you know, we know that, you know, no title, no paper, no nothing's going to assure you that the person's not going to go out on you.
Right.
But I think that at least if you have some type of title, you know where you stand with the person. So that's really what it boils down to.
It does. You know, I think if you think about it in terms of like a company, like a business, is the receptionist going to become the VP right away? Are you going to go straight from receptionist to VP or even...
Or CEO or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? It's likely not going to happen. There's stages.
Right.
And so you are being challenged with this episode to ask yourself, what stage are you in?
Right.
Because just because you've been together for a year and a half, it doesn't mean that in his mind...
You're the one.
You're the one. You're his girlfriend, or that he's telling everyone that you're his girlfriend, or whatever the situation is, you're not titled up. I feel like there has to be, like, is there a conversation that says, you know, I really enjoy your company, and you know what, I'd like to, you know, be exclusively with you.
Right.
And then you know the rules of engagement. We're exclusive.
Right.
But if you're going with the flow and you find out he's talking to this other lady over here or whatever... How can you be mad?
And you can't even say, like, I thought you were just with me, because it's like, well, we never actually solidified anything, and so you never had a title. And I know that off camera I was telling Rachel I met an older man that was like from the olden times, and he basically said a lot of the time, you know, the women that don't get what they want are the ones that want to live in that olden time, meaning like where they want to make the man wait, where they want him to work for it. See, nowadays, they always say that there's the lazy lions. So the guys have become lazy lions. They're no longer hunters because, you know what? If she's not willing to give it up, guess who's going to give it up? This girl over here is going to give it up. That girl over here is going to give it up. And what values do you have? And some of the time, a lot of the time, the guys don't even care about the marriage part. They're not looking for a wife. They're just looking for a good time. So how do you separate yourself from being that good time to being that good possible, you know, the woman that he may look at and say, you know what, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. I want to marry her. What separates you from the good time to the lifetime?
Yes. I think it's so important that when you are asking that question to really, when you're asking yourself that question to understand, it all boils down to you have to be willing to walk away.
And that goes in negotiation. Even when you're negotiating a house, a car, a relationship, I don't care what it is. If you know that you put all your cards on the table and you say, you know what, if it doesn't go the way that you know, it's not about it being your way, but if it's not fair, if you put the cards on the table, it's not fair, then you're like, okay, I can walk away from this because guess what? It's not something that's going to work with me. It's not aligning with me. And I think that there is a power behind you saying, I can walk away from this. I'm okay with it.
Yes.
And I think the other person, whether they're selling you a car, a relationship, anything, they could see that you're willing to say, you know what? I don't even need to deal with you. I'll walk away. Yes. And there's power to that.
Because imagine this scenario, and maybe some of you ladies listening to this have been in a scenario. You're with the guy, you're having a great time.
Yeah.
You see each other during all the important dates. He does the most for you. Maybe he's probably really wonderful, and maybe you're out this for like 6 months, and then he turns around and he says, "You know, I'd really love for you to just make it official, for us to make it official, and for you to be my girlfriend and be exclusive, are you going to be thinking, what the hell was this?
Yeah, what was
what
the
heck
last
was
6
this?
months?
The whole
were
6
we just
months?
hanging out? Yeah.
So it's tough, right? Because then that instead of being like, oh, how sweet, you're like, I'm 6 months deep, on like wifey mode, which is a whole other like conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's barely like, all right, I think I'll make her my girlfriend so that everyone knows. Change the status to in a relationship, if people even do that anymore. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's the part that's tough too, right?
I think that when you change the status is when you're really serious, because I think it takes a lot of effort to just be like changing of the status. I know that you can post people, but not really, say that, hey, he's my boyfriend or we're engaged. It's like, I'm kind of seeing him. He's on my 24-hour story. And it's weird how things have shifted, right? Like if you put them on your 24-hour story versus putting them on your wall, like who would have ever thought, like, I've never made it on your wall? Like, what are you talking about?
Or how about like, I was listening to somebody say recently online, just because he puts you in your stories doesn't mean
you're on his wall.
That you're actually being shown that he's claiming you, because he can set the settings, right? And to determine who can see it and who cannot see it.
Right.
So meanwhile, you're like, he put me on his stories when we were in Miami, and he tagged me, but like literally you saw it.
Right. He's like, okay, only I saw it, no one else saw it.
You know,
like, I put you on the story for you to see it, and that's just it. But I think, going back to the titles, I think that nowadays a lot of the time, you meet someone and you have sex with them not me per se, but just generally speaking, you have sex right away.
All of you have sex right away.
every single one of you guys
that are having sex right away.
And all 3 guys are
and the 3 guys over there in the back that are having sex right away.
Right away. You guys go straight into the bed and you guys don't even get a title. Like, what? So I think a lot of the time that's what's going on. We as human, as this modern day, like just go out on a date with this guy and that guy or that girl, and then you're just like, okay, you do not request or ask for a title, and that's why you're not given one.
I think if you go all the way to the beginning of the relationship, those first conversations that you're having with someone, a lot of them are taking place by text, but if you're speaking to someone at night and you're like, oh, I've always wanted to be a dog trainer, whatever you're talking about, I think that is your opportunity to set the tone and be playful and be sexy and entice them and do all those things.
Right.
But in that, opening up about my, philosophy about life and yours as well, to be able to say, I'm not a casual dater.
Right.
I've kind of done that. I've decided not to do that. Or maybe you don't even say that, but, maybe you're just like, I'm not a casual dater. And he says, what do you mean? And you say, I'm a relationship person, and I don't enter into a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
I'm really careful, but I really like you.
Right.
And then if he's like, I really like you too, and then you say something like, well, are you a relationship guy, or are you a guy that's just going to drag someone along for months and months, because you can. I think it starts right from the beginning, having playful, honest conversations.
Well, I think it goes with it, like for instance, if a person's ever been married or had kids, you would ask, so you never got married and you never had children. Is that by choice? So you never want to get married and have kids? Oh, no, I do, but, I just haven't met the one. Okay, so then you know that he may be looking. If a person's been divorced with kids, it's like, so you've been divorced with kids, so are you not looking for something serious? Oh, well, eventually, yeah. Or they'll tell you, you know what, I'll never get married again. And I did the surgery. I can never have more children. So if you should be a woman that is, that can have children and want children, then you would know automatically that he's not going to maybe be your guy, because you're probably not going to convince him to have a child with you otherwise, unless he loves you so wholeheartedly that he's willing to do some type of reversal for you. Which I know that has happened, and I've seen it firsthand. So, unless he's willing to do that, but are you willing to risk that time of you trying to supposedly convince someone to do something and they may not ever want to do it? And so, if they've already had grown children, they already been there, done that, and they're telling you flat out, like, I never want to have children and I never want to get married again. you know, at that point in time, you have to make that determination. Is this just going to be someone that I'm just having a really great time with every other weekend? I cannot expect a title because guess what? It doesn't really even matter. I already know what I want and what he wants. And it goes without saying, like in the past I've said, you know, sugar get off the pot. Like if you know that he's not your guy, then you know what? As vulgar as it always sounds, literally you have to make that determination to say it's not going to work for me.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand when women find a guy that they actually like and enjoy, and they start to get nervous. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want to push too hard. They don't want to seem too needy. They don't want to be the ones that seem like they're all in on the relationship when the guy hasn't. We're all waiting for the guy to make the first move.
Right.
And we're all waiting for the guy to go, oh my God, I've never met anyone like you. I don't want to live without you. We want
You're
this whole, like,
ever
we want the guy to climb the wall with the rose in his mouth and be like, haha.
Rapunzel.
No, ladies, you got to decide what you want. And you got to agree to yourself and make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to play around and waste time. If you know you want to be married, especially if you know you want to be married and have kids, like it needs to be a goal. Not like a little, oh, I have wedding dresses on my vision board. No, like a very focused goal. In another episode, we talk about money and chasing guys with money, gold digging and stuff like that. If that's your purpose, you know, you set a goal, I want a guy that's affluent, and you take several steps to get there. So if you want marriage, you want the ring, you want the kids or whatever, like then make a plan and go, okay, I'm going to date this guy and see how it goes. In 3 dates, I'll know. Maybe 1 month, I'll know. And then that's it. Maybe give the person like a month to show or evolve, like how should I say, like communicate, open up and communicate with you enough to figure out where he's going. Is he thinking about it instead of going, I bet you I'm so good in bed I'm gonna convert this freaking dude. Every woman thinks that. Like literally every woman thinks that.
And sometimes, you know, there are women that can do it, and I'm not trying to challenge you, but at the end of the day, if the person isn't sure of you anyway, the likelihood of that sticking is probably very unlikely. And it's what you said, Rachel, about ruffling feathers. You are afraid to ruffle feathers because you're afraid you're going to lose them. Believe me, if you don't lose them now, you're going to lose them in the future. And it's going to be worse because you're wasting time. And I always say it's only a waste of time until you realize it's a waste of time, and you're putting more time into something that you're not going to see a return on. And so at that moment, no return, like zero ROI at all, you know. So and in my opinion, I feel that you have to really, you know, look at everything, and if the person's not giving you that respect, if that's what you really want, then you have to kind of demand it. And it's ruffling feathers. If the guy says, you know what, I don't want a girlfriend, I just want to hang out with you and just kind of like do what we're doing. If that's not your life goal, then you need to say, you know what, it's going to hurt for me to say goodbye to him now, but it'll hurt more if I don't say goodbye. You know, if I don't say goodbye, it's going to hurt more in the future, because, you know, we start to love on people, you know, after more and more time passes and more memories are made, we start to really love on people. And at that moment, you have to tell yourself, you know what, it's just not worth my time. And I need to find someone that is going to balance and value me. And that's what it boils down to, is a respect and value. Like, do you respect me? Do you value me? And if they don't, you know, then you have to make that determination to say, I got to go.
You know, I heard a saying from someone that said, when you go on a date, and it was something I was listening to when I first got divorced, they were like, when you go on a date, ladies, don't go on a date saying, I hope he likes me. When you're doing your hair, putting your boobs up, putting the tight dress on, all these things. You should be walking into the date going, I really hope I like this guy. And switch it around if you are on a mission to accomplish a goal of actually becoming someone's wife. You know what I mean? And I think that once you kind of shift that, you're going to have way less boyfriends, probably, way less, you know, a lot of more lonely nights maybe, or whatever the situation is. But if you're going for quality prospects versus just killing the time across the board, like we were saying earlier, you know, you're going to pick up a rock and drop diamonds, because diamonds are going to go by and go, well, shoot, I just saw her out to dinner with this guy. Or she just posted with this guy, or whatever. And so you got to really keep that into perspective, because when you're going out, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to have a nice time with him, because he's going to look at you and say, I mean, I don't know, things are going great. So far it's good. Let's just see where it goes. Every guy's going to say that.
Like, it's going good. We don't need a title. We've never needed one. Like, why would we need one now?
Yeah, guys who
we've
say,
been doing this for a while.
Guys say, why do we got to get married? Like, it's just a piece of paper. When you're sitting in a house helping him pay the mortgage, and you got 3 kids running around from the guy, and he's like, it's just a piece of paper. And it's like, no, but let me tell you, when he steps out with the coworker, in his mind, he's not married.
So, and it goes back to kind of like the title, like titling up. It's like, okay, so you go to buy a house, going back to the house, you go to buy a house. So what is she? Oh, she's just my girlfriend.
Yeah.
No, it's different from saying that's my wife.
Yeah.
This is my husband.
Yes.
And if that's what you ultimately want, you got to seek what you ultimately want. And you know what? People are going to waste your time if you allow them to waste your time. People are going to be on your 24-hour story, but they're maybe never going to make it on your wall, and that's kind of the thing.
Yep. Okay. We don't know how much time it is, huh? What minutes? Can you see the red right there?
Dude, she's being obnoxious, though. Like,
I don't have a pen. Let me see.
16:16. It was probably like 15:58.
Okay. If you have a pen, I'll mark it down.
I'm gonna grab one.
Okay. You said the pool guy was here, no? Maybe that's why?
It's because the lawn board here. Come here, Belle. Here, Belle. Yeah, I didn't think she was gonna be this fucking obnoxious. Alright, 15:58. I think
Okay.
it could have been.
I'll do. Okay.
And then I'll tell you when we start. What the
This
lawn
is
people
time.
are here though.
It's okay. That should be fine. That doesn't come up as bad. Titles are important, so.
What were we even talking about? Was I talking? You were talking.
50, you were talking. Okay.
Do you have a taco guy you would recommend? Someone's asking me.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's.
Okay. So you were talking, but I can start it because I can edit it so it makes sense when we're talking.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh,
So-
that's loud though.
The mics are pointed. These are directional mics,
Okay.
so it should be okay. Okay, hold on. Let's just try it.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2.
Okay. So basically, it was so funny because my son was here earlier, helping us set up, and we were asking him that question, like,
Right.
about the title situation, and he was basically saying sometimes if he really likes a girl, he's in his 20s, but he was saying sometimes if he really likes a girl and everything, at the end of the day, in his mind, he's going in thinking maybe this is someone that I can title up, meaning girlfriend and exclusivity. Right. But then if he gets it right away, meaning she has sex right away, which does happen to him, he's a bad-looking boy, but if it happens to him, then he's kind of like, he puts that on the back burner because he's like, why do I have to go all in when she's doing all this? She's doing the most, and I haven't even done anything for her.
Yeah, right.
And so that's a whole thing. It's like, ladies, why are we leaning in so far in when he's just not even leaning in at all sometimes?
Right.
He's just being nice to us.
Yeah, no, and I your son though, he's more old school, so that you have to take that a little bit into consideration because I think that the newer generation doesn't see things this way. They just think like if the girl doesn't, first of all, if the man doesn't want to sleep with the girl, she feels that she's undesirable because that's kind of how we've been conditioned. Yeah. I mean, I'm a woman of a particular age. Maybe I'm not in my 20s, but I would say that era kind of is conditioned that way. However, her son is in his 20s, yes, but he's conditioned more in
more
the traditional way. So I think it just depends on how you were raised, your values, and how you look and you perceive life.
Yes.
That's what I think.
He had a really interesting one though, where he said he never understood why females want to be equal to men in the dating world because he said. He's like, we're dogs. Men are dogs.
He did say
and
that,
he's like, and women, you guys are queens. You guys are like the highest of the high. And he's like, and men, all of us, we're searching for the one queen that's going to make us level up. Meaning we're dogs. But if we find the right one, she's going to make us stand up and level up and man up. And he said, but basically, if she wants to be a dog like us, now we're just two dogs. And so it doesn't even come into play, the marriage. Or instantly in his mind, he's like, well, this isn't the one I'm going to marry. It's a good time. Yeah, she's pretty or whatever the situation is. But it's like he can't be convinced. Now, he's more strong-willed. Maybe some other young guys would be like, oh, I don't care. You know, my other one was a little bit different. And so it's like he wouldn't have cared or whatever. But even still, he would come home and be like, I really like her, I'm having a good time. And I'd say, okay, so were you thinking? And he goes, no, because, you know, look at how she is. I haven't even made her my girlfriend yet. And she's already all about it. And it's like, well, what's left? And if I get married? So they would come up with all these scenarios. And it was really interesting to watch. And even with my brother-in-laws and just hearing them open up and being so into a woman. Yeah. And then after so many times of having sex, it could be 90 days, 3 months worth, whatever. They find a reason. Something comes out in that whole thing where they're like, yeah, no,
she's not the one. I like her. She's cool. We have a good time. But, and there's always the but. There's always this but. And you're like, okay, and nah. And you can kind of gauge people too, you know, if they have been married and divorced a couple times, or if they've never been married, that they may not want to go down that path.
All I know is if you're single and you're in your 20s and you're a woman, I feel for you because it is tough out there. Because let's talk about the women, for example, who are getting all this plastic surgery and then they're still dating average level guys. You were talking earlier about the lazy lions, right? And one of the things that was another interesting conversation with my son that I'm going to share with you ladies, because you guys are going to be like, no, I wish I didn't hear this. But he goes with me to a lot of events and things like that in very affluent areas and communities and stuff like that. And here's what we kind of took out of like the whole thing is like, how does a man settle down? A young man even. How does a young man or an older man settle down, especially if you have money? Let's just say a man with money. Settle down with a female in a community like this when you don't just have, you know how men like to fish, right? Yeah. They don't have to fish. The fish are flying out of the ocean.
Into the boat.
And into their boat. Yeah. Okay. And they're just like, and now they could be like, this one, I don't really like yellowtail. Flop. And then let me take a couple bites of this. Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of different. That's literally how they're living. And by the way, when I was saying that with him, we were kind of cracking up. He says it's more than that. Ooh. If you go to LA, Orange County, or Miami, he's like, now you got mermaids.
Oh wow!
Flopping out and jumping into their boats. And he's like, so as a man, so I'm like, as a man, I can't really tell you as a man with money, because how do you do that? So now women, you're listening to this going,
am I a mermaid?
Yeah. I mean, am I a mermaid? Am I not a mermaid? Because at the end of the day, even if you are a mermaid, you're on 10. You look in the mirror, you know it. You walk down the street, everyone make sure you know it. Yeah. And you like a guy, and you want to preserve yourself to some extent. You want to have morals, and you want to values and follow these kind of traditions. You're going against the mermaids that are they're beaching themselves at the feet of these men, these same men. So now as a man, in the male's perspective, you go, gosh, I could really go to work on this one. I got to get her a good tank. I got to do all these things to make sure she's taken care of. But then there's this one over there saying, you don't got to do nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm already on your boat. Yeah. I'm already on your boat. And then she's on the boat, and here comes a redhead, here comes a blonde, here comes a brunette. And he's like, and then all of a sudden you're expecting to be in the special tank. He's like, I don't even need I have a trio here.
He lets the water turn green over there. He don't care. Like, that's high maintenance. So now it's like, so when you put it into that perspective, I hope that when you're listening to this and we're talking about titles, that you kind of think about that when you're going to go under the knife or certain things you're going to do. Like, why are you going to do it? Instead, I'm not saying don't get surgery, because we are about it. But what I'm saying is, instead of approaching the relationship from go with the flow, right, and let time pass, he's going to let time pass.
Yes, he is.
Unless you make it very clear in the beginning, not in a rude way or a stiff way, but just in a casual, you know what, I really want something really special. Right. And I see potential in you. Not, I hope you see potential in us or whatever. No, like, I see potential in you.
It's what you say. It's never what you say. It's always how you say it. It's always about the delivery. And again, you could always gauge someone if they don't want to give you a title, and if you want something more, and it may not be with him. I mean, you may want something more out of life. Like you want to be a mother, like you want to have children, you want to own a house with someone. It may not be with him, but if you already see that he's not the one, then why waste more time?
Yep.
And you know, and I know that this feels like it's such a redundant conversation to say I'd rather be alone than in bad company, but it really is true. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you're not giving me my respect, you're not giving me the title, if you're just saying, well, you know what, I don't necessarily need to put you on my wall, which sounds so I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be saying something like that, but it really boils down to that, because you know, you have your closest family and friends on your social media platforms, and if they're not willing to even introduce you to them, let's just say, and that's okay, but at least if they're acknowledging the relationship and they're solidifying by saying, hey, we're together and I'm going to put you on my wall versus on my 24-hour story, I think there's a big difference there. And if you've been dating someone for 6-7 months and he's like, hey, our titles don't really matter, are you going to invest, you know, without no ROI, you know, are you going to invest more time, 6 to 7 additional months? So now you're a year deep, and this guy's like, sorry, like I told you since the beginning, like I wasn't serious, like we're just kind of hanging out.
Or if you're in it 6 months, a year, and you really, you're thinking you're going to get the ring, you're like working towards it because, you know, the family, you went on trips together, and
that's
you're like,
true too,
the ring, I know the ring's coming, but you've never had that conversation. And you know what? You might be sitting there holding your breath for a long time, because guys can go through all kinds of emotions. And we said it before, guys can date you for 6 years and still be looking for the love of their life. And that's where, and when we're talking investment or wasting of time, I'm going to take it back to the corporate world. If you are looking for a CEO, okay, of your company, you're like, I need to find a CEO so I can live a good life, so they can run the company. Are you just going to put anybody there for now because the last 5 people you interviewed were just not that great? No, you're going to be on a mission that the CEO has to have, you know, 9 out of 10 of these things, and you're not going to stop until you find one, or your company's, you know, going to be, it could tank. You got to kind of look at that. You know I have a whole other podcast about, you know, unpacking your inner CEO. So I'm kind of going down that lane, but it does apply. You got to treat your goals and your life mission in this picture. It's a story that you're writing. It's your book. You're the author. You're the, like they say, the director, the actor, the everything, the producer of your life.
Right.
And you have to decide who's going to fit in and who's not. And if you don't do that in a short amount of time, they will, I promise you, they're going to waste your time.
Yeah. And you have to tap into your heart and say, how does this make me feel? Yeah. You know, if it probably will make you feel less than a woman, or not enough, or it's going to make you think, why am I not enough? And I think that you have to understand and know that you are enough. You're going to be enough for somebody that sees you and says, I see such high value in you, and you're more than enough. Like, they want to impress you. So instead of you asking, am I enough for you? On the contrary, he needs to know that you are more than enough, and he needs to meet you halfway. And if you can't have that, then you know what? At the end of the day, if he doesn't want that, you guys are not aligning, and you guys don't want the same thing. So he's just wasting your time. So at that moment, in that time, you have to say, you know what? That's okay. I don't need to be titled up with you. Yeah. Just don't waste my time. I'm out. And then you just say, you know what? I need to make sure that I'm available for the right person that is going to look at me with high value and say, you know what? I want to take this to the next level, where you don't even have to push the man to want to take it to that level. No. He already sees that. He sees the value in you to say, you know what? You have a lot of qualities that I've been looking for. Instead of this guy that's like, we're just kind of, we're just, you know, we're doing dinner. Yeah. It's cool. You know, you're cool. You're good to hang out with. Whatever. I mean, you know, you have to put yourself to that degree and say, you know what? I deserve better.
Absolutely.
I deserve better.
Look, if a man orders, think of it like Amazon. Let's really break it down, okay? You're an amazing package. You're the total package for the person who truly ordered you. They went online. They're like, oh my God, they saved up. They're like, they went to college and got all the money. They did all the things to buy the house so that they can have this. There's a piano right here that we're looking at. So they can have the most perfect piano. Whatever it is, you're the most perfect thing for this one person. But you get delivered to the wrong door. You get delivered to the wrong man. Right. That man's going to open and go, huh. whoa, I didn't order it, but this is freaking pretty cool. It's freaking beautiful. I'll take it. I see other people wish they had something like this, but it came to my doorstep. Yeah. And guess what? I'm going to have fun with it. Ding, 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 ding. Play all the freaking keys. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Never even, you know what I mean? And they're going to handle you horribly. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to value you because they didn't have this idea in their head of always having you. Right. And all of a sudden, but you landed on you flopped out of the ocean with your mermaid self and you landed in his boat. And so he's like, cool, this is what it is versus... Now, for that guy, you're not the whole package. Mm-mm. That guy didn't even, in his mind...
He didn't even really want you.
Yeah, you weren't even part of the plan, okay? But for the other guy, who was like, gosh, one day I'm going to be able to have this, if you would have just routed yourself the proper way, labeled yourself the proper way, and landed at your destination, that person would have been like, finally. Finally.
My delivery.
I'm going to leave you with one last thing.
I want to hear it.
I read this quote. I think I posted it. The other day, and it was like, you cannot continue to give to someone with the hopes that they're going to love you who doesn't value what you're already doing to begin with. You can't love someone, but you can't make them love you. You can't keep giving them more of what they already do not appreciate about you.
It's like you wanting chocolate and you giving them like a lot of chocolate and they're just like, oh, I'm over the chocolate, and it's like, but you want them to love the chocolate. It's like, no, they don't appreciate you. They just don't want chocolate anymore. Like they don't want you, or they're not appreciating you. They're not appreciating your sweetness and the goodness that you bring. And I like that, Rachel. That's a good one. I love that.
So that's what I have for today. Did you have anything else?
No, I think you hit the what is it, the nail on the head. I think it is what it is. Like if a person's not giving you the respect and they're not giving you the value that you need to seek someone else, or give yourself the time to really focus and with intention throw it out in the universe what you really want for that person to respond back to you, so you guys can both be high level people that value each other. And if you can't have, I'd rather have nothing if I have to get half of something. So you know what, at that point it's like, I'd rather have nothing if I'm going to get half of someone. So that's what it boils down to, and that's all I got. It's like my 2 cents. So
well, you guys have a wonderful week, and we will catch you next time.
All right.
Cheers. Cheers.